My husband wanted to open up our marriage, so I started dating his boss. Now he wants to close it. Let me just start by saying that I didn't mean to start dating his boss, it all happened accidentally. My husband and I have been married for almost 8 years now. We have always had a healthy marriage and a great intimacy life, or so I thought. It came completely out of the blue when my husband sat me down a couple months ago and said that he was feeling unsatisfied with our physical connection, and he needed something more to be able to feel fulfilled. I was so confused. We are intimate a couple times a week and he never gave any indication that he was feeling unhappy in the bedroom. I was feeling hurt before he even dropped the bomb on me that he wanted to open up our marriage. I felt so small and unwanted as he rambled on about wanting to experience more freedom, but he assured me that he loved me and he wanted to stay together. I asked him why I wasn't enough for him, and if there was anything I could change to make him happier in the bedroom or in our marriage in general. But all he said was that it had more to do with his masculinity than me. This didn't make me feel better, but I love him and we had already been together for so long. So reluctantly, I agreed and we decided to be open from that day on. Our only terms was that we had to disclose to the other when we would start seeing other people. The first couple weeks were excruciating. He immediately started seeing a woman from his office and I would just stay at home and cry myself to sleep while I pictured him out with a younger, more attractive woman. I was devastated for a while and I honestly had zero interest in dating anyone other than my husband. But after 5 months of him dating his one girlfriend, and spending most nights with her instead of at home with me, I decided that I deserved to experience some freedom as well. I made a Tinder account one night while he was out with his girlfriend. I was surprised when I got over 100 matches on the very first night. No one was really catching my attention until matched with this one, very handsome older man. He seemed very successful and he was a gorgeous silver fox. I ended up messaging him and we went out a couple of days later. I remember the feeling of waiting for him at the bar. It felt nice to have romantic butterflies for the first time in almost a decade. The date went amazingly and we continued seeing each other and eventually slept together. It was one of the most thrilling, erotic nights of my life. I hate to say it, but he was a much more talented lover than my husband, I guess because he was older and had more experience. Anyway, I told my husband about my boyfriend and it honestly seemed like he didn't believe me. He literally patted me on the head and said, "Aw, good for you honey," before heading out the door to spend the night with his girlfriend. Anyway, things got messy in a way I could have never anticipated. I knew this situation was already sort of rocky, but now I truly feel like I'm living inside a soap opera. Yesterday my boyfriend texted me asking if he had left a manila folder in my car the last time we saw each other. I found the folder and he asked if I could drop it off at his job. I was off that day and I figured they were important work documents, so I gathered the folder and a little snack and he sent me his location so I could come drop it off. You can imagine how stunned I was when I followed the address and it took me to my husband's place of work. I had no idea that he and my husband worked together. All I knew was that he was the head of whatever company he worked for, and he held the highest position in his office. He never spoke much about his work and we just liked to relax when we hung out together. Well, I walked into the office feeling awkward about possibly seeing my husband. Well, I walked to my boyfriend's office and he came out to take the folder from me. He thanked me and gave me a little kiss before going back into his office. When I turned around, of course, my husband happened to be walking by at that exact moment. He had obviously seen his boss kiss me and realized that he had been my boyfriend all along. His mouth made a perfect O shape and there was hurt creeping into his eyes. I felt sort of embarrassed at that moment even though I had done nothing wrong, so I just said hi to my husband quickly and left the office. When my husband finally got home, he broke down in tears and asked how I could do this to him. I reminded him that this entire situation was his idea in the first place. That's when my husband said that he was willing to close the marriage if it meant I would stop seeing his boss. The thing is, I have real feelings for my boyfriend, and I feel like my husband is being controlling and unfair. I find myself doubting my entire marriage and I think I might end up having to choose between the two of them. My husband wanted to open up our marriage, so I started dating his boss. Now he wants to close it. Part 2. The last time I posted, my husband had just found out about his boss and me dating. After my husband saw his boss kiss me at his place of work, he put the pieces together, and it made him upset enough to ask me to close our marriage back up. I was so torn. I felt bad to see my husband hurting, but he had left me in a place of hurt for so long after asking for this arrangement in the first place. I admit I was tempted by the things my husband said in the conversation where he asked to close our relationship again. He just kept saying over and over that he would be better and committed. He kept saying I was the only thing he needed in the world, and he had been blind to that before. These were all words I had been waiting and wishing to hear for so long. Yet hearing them now, I felt nothing but pity for my husband. I still loved him. We had been together for almost 10 years, and what I felt for him was incredibly strong after being life partners for this long. But I still love myself more, and as I said in my initial post, I had strong feelings for my boyfriend already. I told my husband that I loved him, but I had a say in this relationship too, and I didn't want to close our marriage back up. He was a mess at this answer. At one point, he got on his knees to beg me to reconsider, but I stood firm. I wouldn't hurt myself again to prioritize my husband's feelings. For the next couple of months, my husband went through a disorienting array of behaviors towards me. For the first few months, he was incredibly loving and attentive to me. He was cooking for us every night and insisted we have dinner almost every night together at home. He bought me flowers every day for 2 months and tried to initiate intimacy literally every single night. These are all things he's never really done for me before, so I was surprised and happy with all these changes. Although it did seem sort of performative of him to only start being a good husband now in an effort to win me back for himself. If he did love me, where had this treatment been before? He still seemed sad on the nights when I left him to go see my boyfriend, and I noticed he was seeing his own girlfriend less and less. Anyway, I was feeling conflicted, but my boyfriend and I's relationship continued to blossom as we learned more about each other and kept spending time together. About a month ago, my boyfriend had taken me on a very luxurious and intimate date. He reserved an entire restaurant for us and then arranged a helicopter ride for us after dinner. It was such a beautiful and romantic night and we had an amazing time together. There was no special occasion, and when I asked him why he had done all this, he said he just wanted to show me how much he appreciated his time with me, and I deserved to be treated like the catch that I am. Before I left my boyfriend's house the next morning, I broke down crying while venting to him, saying that I wished my situation could be less complicated and that I was sorry if he felt like our relationship was unconventional because I was still a married woman. My boyfriend just listened and held me as I cried. He held me and stroked my hair and said he didn't care about my husband, he was just grateful for any time he got to spend with me, and that I was a blessing in his life, and he was just happy he got to meet a wonderful woman like me. Then he got up to make me my favorite flavor of tea. He had found out my favorite brand of tea a month ago and kept it stocked at his apartment since then. When he handed me the tea, he looked into my eyes and asked if it could be his turn to be honest with me. That's when he told me that he had never met anyone like me and that he had fallen in love with me. As soon as he said that, something just felt so right in my body and mind. I said it back to him, and we cried happy tears together. We didn't worry about anything else at that moment, we just enjoyed the vulnerability. Nothing could ruin that pure moment for us. Or so I thought, but I still don't regret telling him the truth about my feelings. I do love him, but I wish it hadn't. Tea resulted in the mess that it did. After my boyfriend returned to work after this date, I guess he had started telling some of his coworkers about how well his relationship had been going, and it must have gotten back to my husband. My husband didn't react well, and I almost dropped my phone when he called me the other day from the police station. That's when I found out that my husband had attacked my boyfriend at their place of work. Apparently, he had overheard some people talking about how his boss had been bragging about his partner, and it had sent him over the edge. He sounded like such a jealous child on the phone. He had entered his boss's office in a jealous rage and tried to punch him straight in the face. When my boyfriend deflected, my husband picked up a coffee mug and smashed it across his head. The cops had arrested him in front of his entire office, and I assumed my boyfriend had gone to the hospital for a head wound. My husband spoke on the phone with so much hate and bitterness, and during that call, I realized the sane, good man I had once married was long gone, and the last bit of love I had for him wilted inside my chest. He spoke about himself as if he were a victim instead of an unhinged criminal who had attacked another man for his own ignorant reasons. He said that he just couldn't stand his boss keeping us apart, and he had just gotten so angry after hearing that he was talking about me as if I was his wife instead. I said nothing on the phone, I just thought about the choices I faced. I could go bail my husband out of the police station, or I could go visit my boyfriend in the hospital.